Welcome, welcome back to Crafting a Meaningful Life. I'm your host today, Mary Crafts, and as always, do we have a show for you today? I scour really the world for podcast guests that I think are really going to be in alignment with what you're wanting, what I'm wanting, and helping us both craft this beautiful, meaningful life. And so today I'm fortunate to have one from right here in Utah, just north of Salt Lake in Farmington, Utah. And I met this beautiful woman at a mental health town hall down in Silicon Slopes. And we sat next to each other. When she told me what she did, I was like, "Oh, will you be on my podcast, please?" And she said yes. So here we are. So please welcome with me the beautiful Amy Koford. Welcome, welcome, Amy.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be with you.
Oh, well, the reason that day when you were telling me what you did, I was so excited was that you said that you were a hypnotist and not just any, that you were like this renowned hypnotist and you taught hypnotists and you really are kind of like known in the world as, the big deal, the big apple. I love that part. And then in addition to that, you have a new book that's out called The Gift of Pain, The Gifts of Pain, which I want to talk about. And then you have an upcoming book about fear and releasing fear and how we all have it, all which my listeners will tell you are common threads on this
Yes.
podcast all the time. So let's start and tell me a little about your journey with being a hypnotist.
Okay. So I get asked a lot. The most common question I get is, how did you get into that?
Yeah, right?
Like, that's a really interesting career to have. And, sometimes in life, we're just guided, aren't we?
Yeah.
I was at this turning point in my life. I have 5 kids, and my youngest was kind of growing up. And I was just at that turning point in my life where I said, it's time to start really. I want to do more now. And so I put it out there in the universe. Right? I asked God, what do I do? In the past, I had done human resources.
Okay.
And at the time, I just thought, I don't think I want to keep doing human resources. I feel like I have something bigger to do on this planet. And I don't know how or why, but one day I was just Googling hypnotism and finding out more and more. And then I was reaching out to people that help you learn how to do it. And then I was learning how to do it. I became certified and started my own business with it. And from there, it just took off. So I can't really explain it other than I feel like this is my calling.
And there are a lot of people who are very interested. I'm very interested in hypnosis. But do you encounter this, Amy? I know a lot of people who are afraid of hypnosis.
Oh,
And
yes.
they don't want anything to do with it. In fact, they don't even want to talk to somebody who's a
Oh,
hypnotist
yeah.
because they're afraid that they might
Oh,
be like,
oh,
hypnotizing
yeah,
them.
for
So
sure. I do
how do
get
you deal
that.
with that?
The common misconceptions, right? The fears of it. Yeah, years ago I was in Amsterdam and there was a couple from Scotland in in the shuttle to the airport, and they asked what I do, and I told them, and the guy said, "Oh, I'm not going to look at you." you know, like he turned away. And yes, I do get that. And so the reason why there's so much misunderstanding about what hypnosis is because people see the movies.
Right,
They see the TV shows, they see these things that make them think that I have some way to mind control you.
right.
And so there's a lot of misunderstanding there. So yeah, a lot of times when people come in, they're a little nervous for their first session. And what I have to let them know is you will learn that there's no reason whatsoever to be afraid of this. It is life changing. It feels good. You're going to love it. And they do. Now, I also do hypnosis shows. I don't know if you've ever seen a hypnosis show where
I
you bring
have.
people on
And
stage.
those are the things that put the fear in people because
Yep.
they see them up on stage doing things that they normally wouldn't do.
Right. Yep. It lowers their inhibitions, but at the same time, they understand that it's just fun. Now, I
Yeah.
do shows, right? I know how to do shows and I love doing shows. And I've also been a person up on the stage just for fun. A couple years ago, one of my fellow colleagues was doing a show and I went up on the stage to know what it's like to be one of those. And what it is like is just, you just do it because why not, right? It's just fun. There's no harm in it. It's just a lot of fun. And so you just have lowered inhibitions. So yeah, I mean, I love doing shows. They are so much fun. And I'm doing a lot more speaking these days, a lot more motivational speaking, keynote speaking. And so what a lot of people that hire me to speak choose is to have me do speech with incredible content. I typically do like an audience hypnosis exercise, an activity where I get the entire audience to benefit from it, reprogram their mind, right, for success, for whatever it is. A lot of times corporate events are having me do it for stress reduction.
Ah,
So we'll do a whole audience
right.
hypnosis for stress reduction. And then I'll have people come up on the stage. I hypnotize them, get them to do funny things. We all have so much fun.
I love
So
that.
yeah, there's a lot that I do with it.
So when I think about hypnosis, and I think about this when you're laying on the couch and, all of a sudden I think people's fear is that maybe that either they're going to remember something that they don't want to remember, or that you're going to plant something in them that's not really them.
Hmm.
So how do they overcome those fears?
Well, they have to trust me, right? They have to know that I'm only doing everything I do for their benefit. So they have to know that everything I say and everything I do is for you, to benefit you. So, there has to be some trust, but also just understanding what hypnosis is,
Well, let's start with
right?
that. Tell me how hypnosis works and what
Okay.
is hypnosis?
It is simply a state of mind where, your brain has different waves, beta, alpha, theta, delta, and
Hmm.
there's also gamma waves. But alpha waves are where you're kind of relaxed, beta waves are where you're fully alert. Okay. And then theta waves and delta waves are where you're asleep. And then theta waves are much bigger brain waves than the others. And that is the state of hypnotism. It's just where you're relaxed and where your brain is just starting to kind of shut off, and boom, your unconscious mind opens up.
Ah,
Now, in your unconscious mind are all these things like memories and emotions and imagination, and right? But what it's really doing is, in that state, your conscious mind is out of the way.
mm,
So your unconscious mind is like a computer. It just takes what you give it. Now, this is anytime, right? We're constantly going through our days giving our computer things that it takes literally. It's not going to challenge what we give it. So, in other words, if we are criticizing ourselves, then the unconscious just takes that. It's not going to challenge it. But on the flip side, anything positive is the same thing, right?
yeah,
Positivity
yeah.
goes in, your computer takes it and just accepts that as fact. It is non-critically accepting what you give it. So that goes for positivity too. So in hypnosis, with your conscious mind out of the way, it just takes it in. And when we're awake and we're using our conscious mind and our unconscious mind simultaneously, that's when we get things that, well, are you sure? Right? We get the doubts, the fears, the
Hmm.
things that are challenging the positivity, right? Things that benefit us. And it's inhibiting that full ability to get what we give it that could benefit us. So in hypnosis, it just takes what I give it. And it has those bigger brain waves. So it can take in far more at that state. That's one of the important things about it. It can
Yeah.
just take in so much more information because those brain waves, it just opened up your mind, right? So, Yeah.
So when someone's in hypnosis, what are some of the things that you want to become aware of that would help that open up? Like, how do you lead them to understand those pieces of themselves?
Well, I'll just tell them that everyone is different in the way that they experience it. And so I'll tell them, however you experience it is the right way for you,
Mm,
because everyone has different minds and bodies. And I see that when I do shows, right? I bring up a bunch of people on the stage, and some people can go out hypnotized like that, and others, I can't get them there quite on the stage, so I have to send them back to their seat. And that's not because they cannot be hypnotized. It's because for whatever reason, they need a little more time to get there, and
mm,
I don't have time. I'm entertaining an audience.
right.
So when I'm doing one-on-one sessions, it's different. Now I have the time to get them there. So I've never ever had a person that cannot be hypnotized. But part of that
Really?
is preparing them for it, right? Like just follow my instructions and don't resist it happening. Just let it happen. You're
I
here
think
for a reason, right?
that's the key is that to be in that non-resistant, to
Oh
really
yeah,
be
for sure.
open to help.
And I have had some people that are resistant even in hypnosis.
Mm,
And so I have to tell them, okay, next time, now that you know that there's no reason to be afraid, I know that you're normally a control freak and that you don't want to let go of control. But
right.
now that you understand that there's no reason to resist this, I mean, you can resist, but that's not why you're here. You're paying me
Right.
money, you're taking the
Yeah.
time to come here and change. So let it happen. So sometimes I'll have to say, you have to promise me that in this session, you're going to relax and allow these suggestions through to work. Do I have your word? And so, yeah, yep, I'll let it happen this time. But it's rare, honestly, because it's me preparing them ahead of time. Look, however you experience it is the right way for you. If by chance you feel like you're just sitting there with your eyes closed and wondering, am I hypnotized? Is this working? I want you to throw that out the window
Ah,
and just say, Amy promised me that it is working. So just relax. Don't think that. Don't worry about that. It is working. I promise you. And I'll tell them, I could give you countless stories about people that wondered if they were hypnotized and it worked just as well as those that know, right? So just
right.
let it happen. Don't worry about it. But yeah,
So
most people come out of it going, wow,
really,
I feel so good. And that's the most relaxed that I've been for years. Some people say that's the most relaxed I've been in my whole life. So I'll say, see, there was
see,
no worry. There was no reason to be afraid.
what are some of the things that people learn in hypnosis or that they can overcome or improve? What are some of the issues they come about?
So I help people stop smoking in one session with a lifetime guarantee. That is something that I'm going to start to put online to reach more people. I would love to put all the cigarette companies out of business, honestly. So I'm going to start to package that and put it online so that anyone around the world, right now I can help the whole world stop smoking. But that's one thing that I do really well. I have well over a 90% success rate with that.
Wow.
Patches, gums, and willpower have more in the 30% range of success.
Ah,
So it's dramatically more successful, more effective. And then most people that come to me do so for depression and anxiety.
mm,
So with that, I am helping people resolve past traumas. I'm helping people with certain mindsets and thinking and believing and feeling that just isn't working for them. And a lot of times it started way back, right? With
yeah.
certain things that they were told or things that they experienced. So I have to get the unconscious mind to understand, look, those feelings, all the reaction to that was appropriate at the right time. But that time has long since come and gone. There is no reason to hold on to these old ways anymore. So I have to get the unconscious to understand that. And a lot of times in sessions, I am literally speaking to their unconscious. I will even say to them, I'm no longer speaking to Mary. I'm
Right?
speaking directly to your unconscious. So you and your conscious mind, just go ahead and relax and drift away. all right, unconscious, right? Here's what we're going to do. And so I'm getting the unconscious to just do it for them.
Wow.
So yeah, it's amazing. I love what I do. It's so
I
fascinating.
can tell that you love what you do, and you can help so many different people. Not, when I'm 71, and so I can think of growing up in the 50s and 60s, and really the 70s until we
Yeah.
began to look at mental health differently, maybe in the 80s and
Yeah.
90s.
Yeah. True.
And that when people had mental problems, emotional problems, it the fact that there was help for them just seemed like you could drug them, you
Yeah.
could give them shock treatments to their brain,
Oh, yeah.
or you could set them on a path with a psychiatrist for the next 20 years
Oh, totally.
and don't plan on ever getting really well, just being able
Right.
to manage your
You'll be
psychosis.
lucky if you get, right, if you get just a little bit better. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now it's really different. There's so many other options. I see people using the ketamine and what's
Yep.
happening there. Uh, I I don't know enough about it to make a judgment call on it, but I do know people who've been helped. And to
Oh,
now
yeah.
look at what you're offering now, giving hypnosis legitimacy, and that this is actually a way to be helped and healed without the 20-year diagnosis and drugs to back it up. Maybe we can get you to function in society.
Oh, for sure. And this is why I was interested in it, because my personal experience is that I have been through some severe depression and
Ah,
anxiety, some long-term, extremely severe bouts of depression. And so I know what that's like, right? When people come into me and they're severely depressed, struggling with panic attacks, all the things, I'll say, I know what that's like. I've been there a few times at the worst way. Like, it's a miracle I'm alive, right? And, but it helps me to help them. So, one of the reasons that I wanted to do this is my personal experience with therapy just was not, it didn't help me. Now, I have a lot of friends that are therapists, right?
yep,
I love
yep.
them. It just didn't help me. And this was three different places in Orlando. I lived in Orlando for a long time, right? It didn't do anything for me. And I wanted something that worked better.
Hmm.
And so that's a lot of why I do what I do. So, for example, I mean, I have so many stories. I could go on for days. But how does it help past traumas? You brought up that in the past you just think, oh, they're screwed for life. They've
Yep.
been through this thing, right? This thing is so bad that they will never get over it. They're just doomed for life. So I had a client last year who got kidnapped when he was 5 by a stranger, right? He
Wow.
was a 5-year-old kid walking on the sidewalk with his friends. Some stranger pulled over, got him in, took him to the forest, violated him, right? The whole bit.
Wow.
And he was in his 40s when he came to see me. Now, he had been to therapy, right? But it was still affecting him.
Yeah.
So, with hypnosis, I can really do incredible things with past traumas. Again, understanding, right? Helping the unconscious understand, okay, those feelings were valid, but they're just no longer needed. So, so I do several things, but in his case, I dissociated him. In his unconscious, I had the unconscious send that memory far, far away, way off and beyond the horizon, right? And let go of the feelings that were connected with that. Well, the next time that he came in, and plus other things, right? But the next
Right.
time that he came in, he's like, I'm okay with it. I can still kind of remember it, but it doesn't bother me. I'm fine with that. Like, it's way over here in my mind. It doesn't affect me anymore. So
Wow.
that's just in one session we did
Yeah.
that, right?
And
A
people, when they have that
lifetime of
kind
the
of,
trauma. Yeah.
yeah, when they have that past trauma, there's so many different things going on. First, there's
Mhm.
the
Oh yeah.
fear of that it's, I might be I'm always in an unsafe place.
Yeah.
There's the fear.
Vulnerable. Yeah.
But then there's also the other piece, which is just as destructive, which is the shame. And
Hmm.
somehow you feel
Yeah.
responsible for that, or that I don't want anyone to know,
Yeah.
or no one
Yeah.
will want to talk to me if they know I've been violated like that, or, you
Yep.
know, and I become a freak show.
Yeah.
And so there's so many different things and emotions that they
So
have to
many
overcome.
aspects to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first thing that we had to do is get the unconscious mind to know it doesn't have to keep running like a movie that's replaying. It's just not necessary, you know?
Wow.
So there's a lot that we did. So that was the first step. But then, yes, in the subsequent sessions, we just release and replace, right? We release what doesn't need to be there anymore and we replace it with better, right? With confidence, with power, with courage, right? With optimism, with everything that he needed. And we go back in time. We heal that little child.
Yeah.
We release it from that 5-year-old and then work our way forward and give it to this current person. So,
Is there such a thing as an average number of times that it takes, or is that just like
it's
such a
fast.
fallacy?
Most people that I work with, it's between 2 and 8 sessions.
Really?
8 sessions is typically the maximum. That's my program that I call the OG program, Optimized Greatness. And then my Optimized Greatness program is 8 sessions that can take anyone, no matter how severe, and we work through all these issues until they come out of it just a shining star, because we've released and replaced everything throughout all those 8 sessions in different ways, and everything that needed to go, and replaced it with everything that they most want and need. So yeah, my
What a
program,
beautiful.
it's life changing,
It truly is, Amy. It truly is. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was this new book that has just been published. We're going to
Okay.
include the link for that at the end. Also, Amy's will include all of her other links like LinkedIn, how you can follow and stay in touch with Amy, contact her, book appointments, all sorts of things. But her book, this book, I want to talk about the gifts of pain.
Yeah.
The title of that just grabbed onto me. Just last night, I spoke to a group of women that were survivors of domestic violence.
Yep. I've had a lot
And
of those.
and so I talked to them, and I am a personal survivor of 28 years of domestic violence.
Oh, wow.
And so
Oh, yeah.
I can really talk to them from a position of
Yeah, for
relating to
sure.
this.
Relating.
And
Yep.
I talked to them about, what I would go back and tell my 16-year-old self. And
Yep.
one of the things that I would tell my 16-year-old self, which I don't know if I would have believed, but I would say, fail as many times as you can. And they all just looked at me like, what? And I said, yeah, I was so afraid of failure. I was so afraid of doing something wrong. I was so afraid of other people, what they would think, or messing up. And that fear kept me from stepping out for a long time. And I explained to them, I said, now I just got back from Puerto Vallarta and I loved it. I spent time on the beach. I got some tan. We did some great activities. We went out to wonderful places to eat. And when I came home, I didn't say, and I learned about resilience.
Yeah.
No,
Yes.
I didn't learn anything about resilience down there while I was just lounging on the beach. But I can tell you, I did learn about resilience when I was in the depths of feeling like a failure
Yes.
and what it felt like to stand up for the first
Oh, for
time.
sure. Yep.
And
I've
so I
been
have
there
a
too.
sense that this book speaks to that. So tell me about the gifts of pain.
Okay. So yeah, The Gifts of Pain, it's 31 authors. Elena Fernandez reached out to me and asked me to be a part of it.
Ah,
And so my particular chapter is about self-critical to self-love. That's something I struggled with. And a lot of people are self-critical. I think it will resonate with a lot of people where they'll be like, oh, wow, yeah, that was me. And, just learning how to love ourselves, learning how to see ourselves different, and how important that is, and how much it blesses our lives when we can be more self-positive. So, yes, I had huge fears of what other people think.
yep.
So, going to my book about fear that's coming out here soon called Hardwired to Rise.
You're publishing another book right away? Oh, that's
Yeah.
excellent.
Yes. So that's my baby, right? This is 100% me that wrote this.
And
Now,
tell
in
me the name of
this,
it again?
Hardwired to Rise, live fearlessly, prosperously, and optimally.
Wow, I know you don't have a link for that yet on Amazon, but when you
I
do
don't
publish
yet.
it,
It's
send it to
honest.
me and I will publish that link.
Thank you. Yes, I submitted it to the publisher almost 2 weeks ago. It's
Ah,
done. We're just in
wonderful.
that formatting and getting it, out phase. So in that one, I talk about insecurities. I talk about, there's really two types of fear: necessary fear and unnecessary fear. Everything falls under those two categories, right? So, as you know, necessary fear is the kind of fear that keeps us alive. It's
Right.
necessary, right?
That buckles the seatbelt.
Yes, that, if a bear is chasing you, you run kind
Yeah.
of thing. That's necessary fear. But then all the rest is unnecessary fear, right?
Yeah.
This is the stuff that causes us stress and anxiety and what ifs about the future and fear of what other people think, fear of failure.
Yeah.
And ultimately, what I talk about is really our number one fear is fear of our needs not being met. That's it. All the fears really are that.
Right.
If you fear what other people think of you, it's really a fear of not having certain emotional needs met. So, I go deep in
I love
this.
this. I
Like,
love it.
here's what's really going on. It's not really fear of what other people think. It's fear of this, right? It's some emotional need that isn't getting fulfilled for you. That's our biggest fear.
Yeah.
So I mean, if I'm going to toot my own horn, I am really proud of my book about fear, and God told me directly to write it. I had no plans to write a book, and I was driving to Seattle, and God said, you need to write a book about fear because your perspective is something that the world needs, especially now. There's just too much fear in the
Yeah.
world. People have too many fears. Their anxiety is an all-time high. People need this. The world needs your book. And I was like, no, I'm already too busy. I've got a lot. I don't, but I did it. It took me a year and a half,
Wow.
and it's all me. No AI, no ghostwritten. It's my spirit, experience and skills and expertise and what I've learned by working with a lot of clients. Because what I came to realize, like I told you earlier, the main thing that people come to me for is to help them with depression and anxiety. That's the
Right.
majority of the clients that come to see me. And what I came to realize working with clients and doing thousands of sessions is that fear is really what's happening.
Yeah.
Depression and
Absolutely.
anxiety at the very bottom
Yeah.
level of this is fears. And so I started to work with that perspective. Okay, how do I help people overcome depression and anxiety? Well, we got to go deep. What are the fears that are in there? What's really going on?
It's not
So,
just this blanket word that you have and like you caught like a cold. Oh,
right,
I caught anxiety because my friend had anxiety.
right.
It's deeper than that.
Oh,
Amy,
yeah,
one of the
yeah,
things that I think the importance of this book of yours that's coming out is more critical now than it's ever been in our existence because more people are living in fear now than has ever happened in the history of this planet. It's why we are in the mess we are politically because people are glumming onto wherever their fear is. Oh, I'm so afraid that I'm not going to have any money. So this guy's going to fix the economy. Whether or
yeah,
not he's
yep,
the right guy, you think that he's going to solve your fear. Oh,
yep,
I'm afraid that we're going to be taken over by Russia. This guy's going to handle that great. I'm going to do this over here because rather than letting go of those fears and making good decisions based on our own conscience. We're
yep,
running after our fears in our
yeah,
society right and left. It has
Well,
to
and
stop.
worldwide, I talk
Worldwide.
about how fear is really the world's number one problem
Yep,
because it is causing all of the world's problems except for natural disasters,
exactly.
right? Natural disasters are a different thing. Every other world problem, from terrorism to wars
Yes.
and sexism and violence and all these problems, it's all fear. Yep.
If we solved those problems and got rid of the fear, Amy, think of all the resources we would have at our fingertips to help natural disasters. We
Yep.
would just like, oh my gosh, we're all coming. We're going to
Yep.
help. We have all the
Yep.
money we need. We're going to fix all this. You're going to be fine. But that's not the
Yeah.
case. We waste
I
all of our
I
money trying to handle our fears.
It's crazy. Yeah, I talk about that. I talk about how we have to see this differently, that we're all in this together.
Yeah.
Stop being afraid of each other. Because, yes, people give us reasons to be afraid of them. But you've got to see it in a bigger scale, right? And so one of the things I bring up towards the beginning of the book is just have some fun with me here and answer this question. Just notice the first thing that pops into your head with this question. What would our world be like without fear?
Ah,
You know, and then list all the ways that our world would be better. What if one day the whole world said, you know what? Let's just stop being afraid and embrace love instead.
for one
In
day.
what ways would our world be better? And I say it's too many to list, isn't it?
Yeah, truly.
It's so many that you couldn't list it. It would take forever to list all the many ways that our world would be better.
Yeah. It is unbelievable what fear has done to our world.
Yeah.
And it's just
And so I talk about
snowballing.
global and individual, right? Okay, so here's the globe, but how do you, the reader, let's get you feeling better. Let's get you more powerful, because fear is just a feeling. It doesn't need to be the boss of you. You're way more powerful and far stronger than fear.
Yes.
So you have to understand that first and foremost. You are far stronger and far more powerful. So, yeah, it's got a lot in it.
I love that. And that helping people to release this fear, I couldn't agree with you more. That it is the number one thing. And to find a kindred spirit that's holding the
Well,
banner high, that says,
yeah.
for example, when you go to a Miss America pageant and they ask the question, what is the number one problem facing the world today? They'll say like, world hunger,
Yes.
we need
Yep.
world peace, but it
Yep.
is fear.
Oh, for sure. If they asked me that, I would go on and on, right? I would have this amazing answer just ready to say, oh, it's fear. It's our number one enemy
Yeah.
as our world. And but here's the great news is that it doesn't need to be our number one enemy.
Yes.
We're
I
stronger, we're more powerful.
A lot
It
of people
doesn't need
don't
to be our
believe that. They don't believe we
yeah.
can walk away from fear. They don't believe that. But you and I, from our personal experiences,
Oh yeah.
we know that that is possible. We
Yeah.
can literally learn to walk away from these fears that have bound us up with these cords and have frozen our ability to be acting on our own and our own selves. The other
Yeah.
thing you mentioned, Amy, which didn't know we were in alignment with, but my vision, my mission on this planet until I take my last breath, and then it'll be my mission in the next life, is to bring about oneness. And that
Yeah.
oneness is truly the dream of humankind.
It really is. Yep.
And you and I both, just from something you said, I went, she knows that too.
Yeah.
You
We're all
understand
in this
that.
together, right?
Yeah.
And we all have, so yeah, I talk about this in my book. We have so much more in common
Yeah.
than not. And when we look at it from that perspective, it's easy to love each other and to just say, hey, let's support each other. We all have struggles. Let's help each other globally. Why
Yeah.
be enemies? Why this us versus them or me versus you kind of thinking?
Yeah.
That's not benefiting the world. Not at all. It's hurting the world.
The fear when I think of, um, I can give a little, but I can't give a lot because I want to make sure I still have enough.
Yeah.
And like, well, yes, I don't want you to be starving, but I can't give you enough so that you like are like me. I I will still need to be better because that fits my psyche. That in
Yes.
order for me to have a good self-esteem, I need to be better than
Right.
someone else.
So, yeah, see, you just illustrated what I brought up earlier. Every fear is related to some need. And the
Right.
deepest fear is what need is not getting filled if this happens or if I do this or it's all about what needs are you afraid of are not going to be met.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think of that, people, their fears of if they don't have money, if they don't have food, and that fear is
Yeah.
driving a lot of things right now.
Yep.
But in the end, if we could all help together. In
Yeah.
my little yard here, I could grow things if I had to.
Yeah.
I don't right now, but I could raise chickens here, and everybody could come get their eggs. I need
Yeah.
somebody with a bigger yard to raise the pigs, though.
Me too. But I get your point, and you're right. I mean, it's all about perspective and just, so much is the way that we believe. So I talk about that too. It starts with, ideas that become beliefs, that become thoughts, that become, right? This whole chain of events that gets us to where we are and how you're living and how you're feeling about life or your perspective all has to do with this chain of events. And
Yeah.
that chain of events is caused by so many things, your childhood and your life,
Yep.
and right, all these things that go into that.
You are just a plethora of knowledge, information, and help and support, all the way from the one-on-one, your hypnosis practice, to now sharing a book, how people can embrace pain and the gift that it is to them,
Yeah.
to how to walk away from fear,
Yeah.
first within ourselves and then globally.
Yep.
When I first took on this vision of oneness, I thought I was overwhelmed. I'm like, how can I possibly bring that about on the planet? I don't even know where to start. I don't know where to begin. I just was crazy with this. And then all the fears went away when I realized, I first just have to start with me.
Yeah,
I have
exactly.
to become non-judgmental.
Yep.
I have to be less critical. I have to let go of my fears. I get to be about oneness in me first.
Yep.
And then I can let those ripple effects happen. And then it
Yep.
became manageable. Oh, it's just me? Okay, I got this. I can do me.
Yeah.
And so you have so many gifts, Amy. My listeners are going to love this podcast and are going to love
Oh, thank
you
you.
and are going to
Well,
follow you.
I
And I can't wait to get to buy your book.
yes, I'm really, really excited about my book. Every chapter has practical exercises, activities that you can do to release fear, and so much more. It's not just information, it's like techniques that work.
Ah,
It's got so much in it. I want to make absolutely sure that it works. So I put everything in there. Every technique, right? All these, it's just filled with like techniques and ideas and information and practical advice. And so much is in there to make sure that it works.
yeah.
So,
And you're going to release the audio as well, right?
oh, yes. Yep. I got to get the audio. I'm going to try to get that out at the same time that the print and digital comes out.
That's great because I'm an Audible person now, I have to say. As much as I
Well,
love tactile, I
yeah,
don't listen to I don't read enough now, and so I'm very excited. I promise you, I'm going to buy this book on Audible and I'm going to read
thank
it.
you.
And who knows,
Another,
you might see me someday in your hypnosis chair. Because even at
I
my
love
age,
that. Yeah,
there
come and see my
I know
office.
that I still have fears that I'm working through
Yep,
on my journey to oneness that are
yep.
like
We all do,
keeping me,
right?
yeah. And
Because we
so
live in an imperfect world, so there's always more that we want to overcome and more that we want to do. One other thing I wanted to mention about my book that's kind of fun is I'm also going to have at least one or more audios that when you buy my book, you get the code, you go to my website, you download the audio, you listen to it at night as you fall asleep, and it reprograms your mind. So again,
ah,
I've put everything I can to make sure it works, including an audio
I
that you
love
just
that.
listen to, right? It changes your mind. It reprograms for
I listen to
purpose.
stuff every night as John and I fall asleep. We have a whole series of things,
Love that.
all the
Yep.
way from deep sleep to opening your chakras to, I mean, all sorts
Yep.
of things. If I'm feeling a little uneasy with my body, I listen to, healing, megahertz number 472. I mean, I just listen to all these things. And I
Yes, I
tell you,
talk
it
about
works.
frequencies in my book too.
Yeah.
Energetic frequencies and how love is at the bottom, basically. And, so yeah, I talk
Yeah.
about frequencies, but yeah, there's just another thing that my book offers is an audio, and I'll probably end up doing more than one, but I'll start out with one where all you do is push play, put in those headphones, and go to sleep, and it
Wow.
reprograms your mind for you. So
Okay. I'm all
yeah.
in. I'm all in, Amy. I'm yours.
Well, and
Reprogram
I
me.
love speaking. So, anyone listening, if you want a really fantastic motivational speaker, a keynote speaker at your next event, I would love
Yeah.
to speak. We can also have fun if you want to do that. Some people love to do, amazing content and have fun with the hypnosis show part of it. Or some people want me to just get up and talk about how to be more successful or how to overcome challenges, right? So there's so much that you
So
have
many
as
things.
options
Yeah.
with I love speaking. It's
Well,
so
you
much.
are obviously a wealth of experience and
Thank
knowledge
you.
and heart.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I do. I care. One of the things I bring up in my book is that, hey, when you're interacting with people, look them in the eyes and just think, I love you. And I've
Yeah.
done that with you, by the way. Earlier, I looked right into your eyes and said to myself, I love you, Mary. And you
Uh,
didn't even know. But anyone listening, please perk up. I want you to hear this. Everyone listening to this, you are amazing and you are beautiful. Whatever you think you are and whatever you thought you were, I want you to know that you are so much more than that.
and you've just been hypnotized to believe that forevermore.
Good. Let it
And that
stick.
is fabulous, right?
Yeah.
Amy, thank you so much for being here today. And I know all of my listeners have loved this, taken away just so much. We bring so much to you every single week of the ways that you can craft this meaningful life, this legacy of existence, and that your legacy lives on long after you do by the number of people that you've touched and influenced, starting with yourself. And so let's begin. Namaste.
Crafting a meaningful life.